Why we see so many illnesses coming sort of mid-age up, mid-30s up, is because they are, the stress is impacting their health and well-being, their performance at work. If you're not well, you're not thinking clearly, you're not making good decisions. So again, you can see none of this is rocket science, the impact it has on the bottom line of the business. But so many people don't like the work. 66% of 18 to 34 want to change careers. So as I say, they're barely starting. So we've got 66 what actually want to change, but these regret. So these are not necessarily the same group now, there's some crossover. And 56% of 18 to 54, so we've got a wide age now, we're up to 54-year-olds, happy to consider a major career change. So we're seeing a lot of liberated, grey-haired people around now because they're thinking of stuff that we've had 40 years old of doing something I don't like. I'm now going to...
So one thing that has really struck me, that one of the reasons that doesn't surprise me is that from my point of view, and going through the state education system, I think that I didn't really have a single influence on my decision about my career. I mean, the state didn't really help me in any way at all at any point, right through higher education.
Yeah, me too.
And that doesn't surprise me at all. Do you know what I mean? That's a 60% fact. It's unbelievable, but it doesn't surprise me. So that's why I had to say that. Do you know what I mean?
I was one of those. Well, I've just kind of sailed. I've not really had a career. I wanted to be a sports teacher, and they wouldn't have me because they wouldn't have me do media work and German. There's only two things I was good at. I had to have an academic topic alongside sports, and I wasn't academic, so. But I did get there. I did an MBA in legal practice, and I graduated when I was 40 at Washington Law School. So I got it, got the education, but not at the beginning. I did the apprenticeship. Huge figures. So, there we go. Yeah, the average cost of recruitment is $7,250 for hire for higher ranking, and $2,000 for other roles. But again, you've got lost opportunity cost and disruption to the business, induction training. It's not just that, it's just on the agency and advert fees. The hidden costs, the induction and training and all the rest of it. And keeping tabs on the team to make sure that when you have somebody come in to a new team, it upsets the apple carts and it changes the environment. So everybody is impacted when a new person comes in, not just the person. Right. Let's do some to read, but it's where I got the sources from the CRPD. Go to the CRPD website and this is on there. This shows you where people wanted to change jobs and didn't want to change jobs. So these are the people who are thinking of career changes, percentage-wise, by region, and these are the people who weren't thinking of changing. So again, when you see, it's not just London South East or Kew, it's all over the place. But this is happening. Time-wise, Elio, right, okay. We're going to whiz through this because this is I'm going to whiz through it. I use something called the DISC model, and has anybody heard of the DISC model? It's behavioural profiling. Have you ever used it? The usual words are direct, dominance, influence, steadiness, and compliance. That's what the DISC mnemonic stands for. It goes back hundreds and thousands of years. I use different words because when I first started doing this 20-something odd years ago, if I was giving feedback to somebody who was dominant, they go, I'm not dominant. So I had a team of people then, and we came up with softer words. So we've got, you can have copies of these slides if you want. In fact, I must try and put them on the slide. Is it SlideShare, the thing on LinkedIn? Anybody used it? Yeah. I might have put something on there a long time ago, but it's probably from front by now. Okay, so this handsome chappie, Hippocrates. So in 400 BC, so this isn't something that I made up wacky thing last week. Hippocrates identified personality types. The people who came to see him, Dr. Hippocrates, his patients came to see him, and he noticed that there was a similarity with certain strands of people, certain types of illnesses, and others. He used blood, bile and phlegm to check the type of personality or human, because there were 4 humans in those days. But luckily we've now got computers to analyse it, although when I first started we did it all manually with rulers and pencils and calculators, and luckily now we've got computers to analyse profile. So he was able to look at the illnesses and the moods and the trends that were coming through. And I've got a chart, and then I'll explain that a bit further. Freud, Marsden and Young brought the behaviour agenda up into modern times. But it goes back to family inheritance. When we're born, we have genes from going back 5 generations, not just a mum and dad. We have 5 generations going back. And sometimes you have a kid from hell that turns up demanding and carrying on all the time. And yet you might have passive parents. You think, where's that come from? And it might be Uncle Fred, Auntie Flo, 2 or 3 generations back, has got the high-spirited nature that this little bundle's got. So we have part of our personality in this when we're born, but then the next 7 years make a difference. And the Jesuits have a saying, give me the boy till he's 7 and I'll give you the man, which is why early education is so important. And I really do wish we could bring some health education more into the younger generation, and that's another project that I'm working on. Okay, so the disc mnemonic. Way back I used to go to schools teaching little tots about behaviour, and the teachers as well about behaviour. So we use pictures. So that was one of my props, and in case the technology didn't work, I've got my line there. So, the lion is an easy way to kind of just get an image in your mind of the types of behaviours. So these are the types of behaviours that we often see by people who are what we call high D. We have a graph system, and the higher you score on different things, it comes out with a graph. So when you're high on the scale, we call it a high. So a high D would have all these characteristics. And in some situations, that's exactly what you need. If you're doing a project where you've got somebody to dive in, get it sorted, off you go. Take no prisoners, that's great. But if you've got somebody who needs a bit of TLC and a hug, it's the last person you want there. So, and these people can come across on a bad hair day as being aggressive, impatient, abrupt and insensitive. You can have the slides if you want. You just can't wait to tell anybody, can you? You can say, look what I did today. So you've got good hair day, bad hair days on all of the styles, and we've all got these characteristics in us. We all have DIS and T in us. We have more of some and less of others, typically, is what happens. I love people watching. I go to a Costa or somewhere and just sit and that's what I'm mostly these days rather than the Costa. Just sit there and having a watch, and you just sort of see people, and you can see how the way people hold themselves, their eye contact, the way they dress, the speed they move. There's so many different ways that you can tell somebody's personality. You don't have to get into the questionnaire. Okay, the I is the dolphin, so ducking in and ducking out. Very sort of open, free-spirited. So we've got this sort of open, gregarious, making friends, ducking here, ducking there, just spreading themselves wildly socially. But for some people, they can come across as being these characteristics. So not stopping anywhere long enough to make a difference, and they're just sort of like shallow. So for people who are more into the detail and analytical stuff, these people are their worst enemies, and it's very difficult to cope. Is influence. I call it inspiring, but the traditional one, if you look on the Google figures, what's it say? Influencing. Okay, so the high S, the Andrex puppy dog. So kind, caring, considerate, patient, you know, that lovely stuff, loyal, kind. So these are your huggy types, or not necessarily overtly huggy, but sort of hold your hand, arm round, make sure everybody's got a cup of tea, your coats are hung up at a party, that sort of thing. They'll be the people that are looking after everybody, whereas the eyes would be out on the dance floor making a fool of themselves, whatever. They'll be doing the meeting and greeting, but then passing them on to the S's to look after. So you can see every role, every type of personality has a place, kind of thing. But on a bad hair day, they can be so annoying because they don't like to make a decision because they don't want to upset anybody. So they don't make a decision, they sit on the fence. So that could come across as being indecisive, being negative. So you've got the high Ds and the high Is who are very proactive, out there doing things, and you've got somebody like this sitting in the team. You think, for goodness sake, make a decision, do something. So you've got a big, contrast in the behaviours, but it's all it's easily manageable if everybody understands how their strengths can be used in a team to make the business or organisation work better. It's when people don't understand, and you see people running courses on how to deal with difficult people. A difficult person is only somebody whose behaviours you don't understand. So once you know about the behaviours, you can modify your behaviour to be in sync with that person. So for example, I know that I'm too much for some people, and sometimes I have to physically stand back, zip my mouth up and try and put my hands behind my back, which doesn't last very long, because I know I'm too much for some people. But if you don't have that emotional intelligence, if you don't have that awareness, that's where conflict can cause, and people can. I remember one of my roles many years ago, I was absolutely horrified. I was accused of being a bully, which was the last thing. I was doing a job, it was a tough job, it was a really big, big girls' knickers job. It was a real tough thing. They had to make these people redundant and another. But it was, the person who complained was a high S off the scale. And I didn't know about all this stuff there about behaviour, so that's another reason why I learned about it, so I could then manage projects better and understand people and make them tick.
Does it also mean that you can choose not to work with people?
Indeed it can. Yeah. Knowledge is powerful, isn't it? And I've learned through this is my third cancer nonsense, and I've learned this journey that I don't have any negativity. I'm a really, really positive person, and I get on people's nerves with it. My daughter, oh mother, for goodness sake. But I've learned that you just can't have negativity around. And if people want to have their own pity parties, well, give them a call and they can show off and have their own pity party. Life's too short, you've got to live it, you've got to enjoy it. Well, that's my choice. I haven't got to do anything, but I choose that option. But some people can get, and high S's are typical of this, they can get themselves so worried about what if I say this and what if I upset that, and what they do, they then worry themselves into illness. And I've got a chart shortly that will show the illnesses. So the final one is the owl. So these are the people who you really do need on a team, and you don't want to argue with them either because they won't have all the facts and figures. These are the analytical people. So they're very cool, detached, remote. If you have a discussion around a board table, these will be the people that will be making notes. They might even sometimes look as though they're sleeping because they're just so concentrating on what it is they're actually giving you their ears. And again, I learned that when I first started speaking. There was somebody in the front row, this chap who was sort of slouched all like this, and he's got a hat, and he put his hat over his eye, and he's in the front row, and I thought, what a rude pig. And then later on, it was pointed out to me what a compliment he was paying me. He was giving me his ears, and he asked more questions than anybody else in the audience, which just proved it. So never judge a book and all the rest of it. And with the people who are very into the detail, they can come up with all sorts of things that can help a team move forward because they challenge, but they do it in a very subtle, understated way with the facts and the logic, whereas the D's and the I's are out there racing ahead. So this is kind of the tortoise and the hare kind of balance. However, a bad hair day, because we all get bad hair days, we have these characteristics. So the high D and the high I would think, well, sometimes, if because they say they wouldn't have this knowledge, their job's worth. Everything is by the book, and these and I want to break the rules all the time. These want to keep the rules. So again, you have the balance. So imagine if you're hiring somebody in and you're putting them in to a role that requires attention to detail and focus and all the rest of it, and it's a high I person that you're putting into the C role. It's not going to work. It might do short term because high I's can drag their way in and out of trouble, but with the high C's, again, don't put them in an environment that's open plan. I've got a friend at the moment who is off sick with stress, and his role is very, very much detailed computer stuff, and he's in an open plan office. They're just shouting, partying, all sorts, and he's got to concentrate. It's really affected his health now. So is this all making sense? Can you see how important it is in an organisation, not just to have the pound shillings and pence, but you've got to have the people stuff that underpins it. So my version is direct, inspiring, supportive and conscientious. And another way to look is the 4 Ps. So high Ds, the directive people, the ones that take charge. Power is the thing that floats their boat. I is people, so don't put them in a role that is completely insular with no people because they'll just shrivel up and you won't see them again. S is the pace that you work at. So if you're a high S, you work at a slower pace. So steadiness was the Google name for this DISC system. So steadiness, if you're a high S, you're a high steady person. If you're a low S, you're multitasking, you're doing hundreds of things at a time, juggling with balls and so on. And C is the procedure. So the conscientious types will work through the procedures. So your architects, your engineers, your IT people, web designers, those kind of people will be, typically they'll be high S's and high C's. And there are standard shapes, and we haven't got a flip chart here, but if you imagine a graph with a line through the middle, DISC, we have, according to where people score on the scales, we have these different patterns, and there are typical patterns of behaviour that come out according to roles that are requiring certain types of behaviours. And that's why I say I match the candidates to the roles, and then I tell the people who to interview because they'll be good. All they need to do is check the CV, does what it says on the tin, and they haven't got tattoos everywhere, unless that's part of the job, of course. Okay, communication style. This is a slide that tells you, again, when you're doing your people watching, this is how to understand what general style the person has, because you can tell whether they're looking at you, whether there's eye contact or not, the pace that somebody's talking at, are they talking or are they listening? Again, they're things that you can pick up the type of style. And when you know the style of the person, you can engage with them and establish rapport a lot quicker. And remember, we can modify our behaviour. Remember I said about zipping my mouth up and standing back, which is what I do sometimes when I have raging S and C people. My son has Asperger's syndrome. It's a form of autism. So it took me a long time to work out, because we didn't have a diagnosis till he was 12, and it took me a long time to work out. When he came home from school, the last thing he wanted to do was to talk to anybody, and because me being chatty, that's the first thing I wanted to do. How was your day? Blah blah blah. And it took me a long time to work out that he needs to be left to be before I start the conversation. And again, in the workplace, we can't choose who we work with. We don't know the situations. Everybody has a story, don't they? And we don't know what the stories are behind the people, what happened to them the night before. Necessarily, could be building up all sorts of stresses and strains in the workplace. Okay, so body language. How people walk. Do you walk quickly, slowly? Do you smile? Being in the eye contact. One on there. The pre-communication. On this one, you can see when somebody sends you an email or a text message. You can pick out their personality style by how they're speaking to you. It doesn't have to be verbal. It can be written communication as well. You can pick these signs up. What I do now, I've trained myself to. don't get many emails now. It's mostly Facebook and texting these days rather than email. But if somebody asks me a question, I'll just reply, hit reply, and I'll write the answer, and then I'll go, and I'll go back and I'll type and tail it, because I've been asked a question, that's the answer, but that would come across rude. Hi, how are you? Blah blah. See you soon. You know, whatever it is, just to come over top and tail it, which is totally unnecessary for some situations, but others. But it helps all the wills, doesn't it? If we just said what was on our mind and didn't dress it up, it would all come across as being rather rude. But people with Asperger's is what they do. That's how they are. So it's a challenge. Right, okay, so we've done that one. Walking. Common health challenges. So high Ds, high blood pressure. These are your road rage type people who get absolutely, busting it up. If they don't have emotional intelligence, if they don't have an awareness of what makes them tick and what drives them to behave in certain ways, they get these, high blood pressure and heart attacks and burnout, etc. And they try and improve everything up to their way as they know best. The high Is, party, candle both ends, and can get stressed if combined. So if you try and put a high I into an environment with not many people, it's not going to work. They just generally do too much. The S's and the C's, they tend to have more internal things, so you wouldn't necessarily see what's wrong with them. Very often IBS, tummy type issues with them, anxiety, depression, constipation, lots of those things we actually can't see, can we? So in the workplace you will have people with all these kinds of conditions that unless you're tuned in, which is why you should have regular appraisal and general meetings to see how people are going, because it's not what's on the outside, it's what's on the inside that makes people tick, generally speaking. So this is these are your difficult people, should we say. These are your opposites. So a high D, so the lion with the puppy dog, they are opposites, so they would be the difficult people. And then the I's and the conscientious, so these are quiet, introverted people, these are loud, shouty people. So again you can see how the opposites would sometimes attract, but also repel. I's and S, they're all about people. They don't give a fig about the task, so they'll be chatting by the coffee machines and fag breaks and all that sort of stuff. There'll be anything to go and have a talk, typically, and they don't get the job done. So you need the people on the left to keep those on the right in check, but then you need the people on the right to make sure that the people on the left are doing the right thing.
So a tendency for people to be a little bit either at the top or a little bit at the bottom. I can imagine the D's and I's tend to go together sometimes, or is it a complete mix?
It's a complete mix.
It's not a pattern.
No. There are patterns of behaviour per types of roles, but not the individuals. I mean, I just profiled somebody yesterday with a very, very high D, very, very high D, but that I was on the floor. And that is a really difficult person to get on with, almost bipolar, because they'd be so, on it 1 minute and then down the next minute. So, but again, this is just a tool, it's not the be all and end all, and you have to have all the other strategies in as well. But typically, I find that behaviour is about 80% of the picture. So if you have the right person doing the right thing in the right place in the organisation, then magically everything will work a lot easier. And you won't need to worry about motivating people because they'll be self-motivating. It'll save an awful lot of management time. So the D's and the I's, as I said before, they're outgoing, proactive, dynamic. Their glass isn't half full, it's overflowing. They believe everything is possible, 100 miles an hour, and to deliver it yesterday. Whereas the opposite is true of the S and the C's. But you can have, it doesn't happen very often, but you can have D and S in the same person. So you can have a high D and a high S. So you've got the lion and the puppy dog in the same person. So you can imagine they've got struggles with themselves, never mind the rest of the world. But again, if we know this about people, then we can understand, we can support and help them in their roles. And I mentioned touch briefly about emotional intelligence. You can have somebody who's a high D but is the most gorgeous person ever because they're aware of how their behaviour can be used for good and not good. And if they're aware of, I'm aware of my style, so I'm high on emotional intelligence, and they say that Professor Daniel Goleman of Harvard Business School in 1994, his first book, I think it's on 3 now, was talking about emotional intelligence, and 80% of successful managers have high emotional intelligence, and the higher emotional intelligence you have, the more successful you'll be as a manager of people because you empathise, you understand the people. So emotional intelligence, there's some organisations that run courses now that go on for 2 or 3 weeks, but basically this is it in a nutshell. So it's about personal competence, so self-awareness, so having a profile done so you can see what your own strengths are, and we know typically what our own strengths are, but it's surprising how many people, when they get a report, which is about 12 or 15 pages long, and they get feedback on how they can use their strengths and for their business, and we're often really surprised. Things that they didn't know about themselves or they weren't sure, and it gives them confidence.